Hi, and welcome to Animalia the Podcast. I'm Natasha, and we have a great show for you today. The title of this podcast is Professor Kim, who you'll meet shortly. But I just wanted to say thanks to all those who've supported Animalia in its infancy. Just like a newborn kitten feeling its way to food and warmth, so too is Animalia feeling its way around the animal welfare landscape of Trinidad and Tobago. But I'm so happy to have you join me, and I hope this brings more and more listeners here and gives me the opportunity to speak with many more amazing Trinbagonians about their animal welfare and rescue stories. So let's have a chat now with a woman who I met a few years ago when she agreed to foster a cat called Jamie, who I rescued from work. Jamie's story is such a special one, and one that I share not just with today's guest, but with the next guest on episode 3, so stay tuned for that. The short story about Jamie, who's an orange tabby, is that he was one of the strays at my workplace that I kind of adopted. I named him Jamie after the character in Game of Thrones, kind of cute, kind of dumb, not knowing what would happen next to him. Anyway, I fed him and played with him every day at work until one day I noticed his right front leg was damaged. It was kind of hanging and bent. So I immediately took him to my vet to have him checked out, and the prognosis was indeed grim. His leg would have to be amputated. And this is unfortunately where the Jamie reference rings too true for those of you who follow Game of Thrones. It was at this point that the community rallied behind him. My colleague at work at the time helped me to find a vet close to where we work, where he could have the surgery done, but we were stumped as to what to do with him afterwards because I couldn't keep him and she couldn't either. And that's where my guest today stepped in to foster him until he could find a home. I was naturally worried that his disability, if you could call it that, would prevent him from being adopted, but sure enough, in a few weeks' time, a wonderful woman from Tobago asked for him and we sent him over to his forever home. She also rescued my tuxie darling Coco Chanel, so please welcome to Animalia Professor Kim, also known as the cat sitter, Kimlin Harrilal. Thank you very much, Kimlin, for joining us on the second episode of Animalia.
Woo!
It's my pleasure to have you.
It's my pleasure to be here.
You wear a couple hats. You're a mom, you're a cat mom. You have a cat sitting business, you rescue, you foster. In fact, you have a litter of kittens right now. Tell us about how you started rescuing and fostering animals.
Well, I started when I was a child. I would pick up strays and come home and cry and tell my mom about a dog or a cat I saw. But my parents are really old school, Natasha, so they would say things like, "Don't bring home no dog here," or "You touch them thing and you'll get mange." So many of my childhood memories is made up of me crying over a cat or a dog that I would see and I would feel sorry for. And many a cuttass I would get for that too, because when my mom made lunch, I would drink all my juice out or my water out and put food in the cup, and I would run downstairs and run out the road to feed the dog or the cat that I saw, girl. And if my mom caught me, I used to be in a lot of trouble. So it started when I was a child. I just had a passion and a love for animals. My dad would cuss, right? And my mom would always say, "You go ahead, let your father catch you, let your father see this cat, or let your father know about this dog." And I got older, actually, they softened because I would visit them as an adult now that I foster. I would visit them with strays, and they would be a little standoffish at first, but you would see over time their hearts really softened, and then they would ask, "What happened to this kitten? Or did you get a good family for this dog?" Or, so over the years they softened so much so. My mom has one of my rescues. I kid you not. A cat? Yeah, till the cat's sleeping on her bed and thing. Listen, there is a God, and he's real, because she was one of those who would never like me to bring home any animals, and now she has a cat on her bed.
Wow, that's amazing. How then did you transition from a foster/rescuer to a cat sitter? How did that happen?
Well, the transition was a weird one, and here is why. I would always foster, right? So as you know, I have my own place, so I don't have to worry about my parents. So I would always bring home cats because it was easier. My yard isn't fenced. And when persons realized that I was active in the group, the animal Facebook groups as a foster, people started to reach out to me to foster. And I would be like, sure, no problem. I'll take care of them. But then when I lost my job in 2017, fostering newborn kittens became a little issue because they need to be bottle fed and milk is not cheap. It's like $90 for one brand and then like $150 for another brand. And they go through a tin sometimes. If it's like 5 in a liter, they can go through a tin in like 4 to 5 days. When persons wanted me to foster kittens, I was just like a little hesitant because I know that I couldn't afford the milk. I have my son, I have bills. And I remember one of the popular fosters in the group, she reached out to me to foster and she said, Kim, I know you're not working anywhere right now. I'm gonna give you 300 just for you to see what you can do and whatnot. And I was a little hesitant because I've never taken money to see about an animal before. And I took the kittens from her and they got adopted really quickly. And I was really grateful because I was able to, put gas in my car to go drop them here and drop them there to meet their new forever homes. And then I had a friend who was traveling and she asked me to, just see about her cat for her and I would do it for free. And it was like, okay, I'm seeing about these animals, I'm doing everything. This could actually be a job. I had a friend who would encourage me, why don't you start it as a business? But to be honest, taking money from people to do something that I was just genuinely enjoying on my own felt so strange. Then in 2018, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start my page and I'm going to start this business. And that is where it began through fostering and just, encouragement to do it.
And it's been going guns ever since, I imagine. Because cat owners hate to leave them at home alone or unattended, and the persons you would trust to take care of them the way you do are rare. So you are filling a huge gap with the cat sitting service that you provide.
Well, that's the thing, because I own cats as well. I have 4 awesome babies, awesome on most days, and I love to travel. So when I wanted to travel and I looked at the options, which was basically boarding, I felt a little apprehensive because they've never been out of home and then they already have this kind of fear for the vet. So imagine leaving them at the place that they're afraid of. They're hearing dogs and then the smells, and then I started to feel anxious for them. So then I understood why my friend asked me to cat sit, was so, insistent that I cat sit for her. And she's like, it's just a home setting. They need a home setting. And then I understood for myself how important it is to have that type of attention that they need. And they're in a home. They may hear other cats, but they're not hearing dogs. They may be in a strange place, but it's not like a place that they are associate with, getting injections or being operated on or that type of thing. So yeah, I was able to fill a gap. Oh my gosh, you're hearing one of my fosters. I was able to fill a gap. I'm just really grateful that a lot of people understand the gap that I am filling.
It's a value add for sure, if only for the peace of mind. So, what are some of the challenges you've experienced on this cat sitting journey?
Okay, so it's just strange, right? So a lot of people message me on like Instagram and they'll say things like, you have a dream job. I love this idea. It must be, all, kittens and flowers all day long because of, cat sitting, and cats are so great. But sometimes, depending on the cat and, the background and, how long they're going to be separated from their owners, it's not all like fun, but it takes a lot of patience. My son is in the background whispering a cat's name that he's experienced. A lot of patience and, just understanding, because for them it's a traumatic situation as well, because they're not sure if their owners are going to come back. They're not sure who I am. So challenges would be just an aggressive cat that takes a little while to settle in, because I understand their apprehension and I understand what they're going through. And sometimes there's just nothing I can do but just make them feel safe and comfortable and just wait for them to calm down. And cats that oh my gosh, who just cannot wait for me to open that tin food and put it on the ground. Like there's some legit just have no patience. And I'm like, I'm opening it as fast as I can. Wait.
In terms of your rescuing and fostering work, so for those who don't know, I adopted one of your rescues, Coco Chanel, who has been an interesting departure, to say the least, from the cats I've had in the past. But how does it feel to foster or rescue an animal and have it go to a loving home?
There is no better way I can put this than to tell you that fostering is an emotional roller coaster. The amount of times that I've cried and happy moments I've had and proud moments I've had, it's an up and down because you see this helpless cat or like a litter of kittens on the side of the road and you just know you cannot leave it there, and there are times, I've been heading to work and I can't leave these kittens there, but do I take it to the people job? Like what's going to happen? And I take a risk. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this bunch of kittens, I'm going to put them in a box and I'm going to work with them and hope and pray that my manager is A-okay with it. So you go through that process, but okay, you get them home safely. And just sometimes, even just the age of some of the kittens I bring home, I can't sleep properly because I am wondering when I wake up, is this kitten going to be alive? So it's an entire overwhelming feeling sometimes. I've had one in all my years of fostering. I have one cat that passed, a very tiny kitten that passed. And I remember calling in the morning, bawling down the place. Oh my God, mommy, the cat died. And she is like, I hope you cry like this when I die because it's, the way you play it is swear somebody died for you. I said, but mommy, I try my best and I don't know what happened. So there are moments that I can point out that I could recall that I would say to myself, I'm not doing this again. I don't care. I'm not bringing home another stray. And then when you see them, you forget all the pain and the heartache and the trauma that you've been through from past litters, and you just start from scratch again.
Oh, yes, it is. And I did speak with Elspeth about this on the first episode. Is there any self-care routine that you go through to keep your emotions in check and sanity intact?
So I try to take a break sometimes between litters, but it's not always possible because I think there are certain times a year when litters are just popping up all over the place. So I try to take a break between litters to just give myself that break, let my home get back to being clean for a little while because now I'm splitting my time. As a mom too, I always have to remember that he's also being affected and his life is being affected when I'm giving attention my fosters. Even like on a weekend, like today and all, like I said, I have 5 babies running around the house. I would put them all in their cage, and usually where they have free reign of the home, I'm like, yo, I need to clean still, I need to mop, I need to put my house literally in order. So sometimes they won't get that full run of the house, just to give me some sanity where I'm not being climbed on, I'm not being nibbled on, I'm not being scratched up. I'm like, hey, you guys need to spend like 3 extra hours in this cage today so I can get my chores done, I can get my life in order and prepare for the week that's coming. So it's really trying to find the balance between letting them run free and be happy and also me managing my home and my family and just keeping mentally in check. And another thing too, it's just always, for me, trusting God that they're going to find really good homes because I've had an experience where I rehomed a cat and it did not work out. And I sat on the lady's driveway, Natasha, and I cried and I was just like, God, why would you let me find this kitten? And then you trust me with this kitten to find this kitten a good home. And I thought this lady would have worked out well. And then look what happened. Because the kitten got out and ran away. And a couple days later, the kitten back. But I mean, that nervous breakdown I had was, and the other time when the kitten died, with just 2 of my lowest, just emotionally like breakdowns that I've had in this whole, foster scenario. And it brings me back to taking care of and remembering